Good afternoon, everyone. I am so excited to be here on this very hot in New England day. It is Tuesday, July 19th at about 2 p.m. EST. I even think we may be just a couple minutes early, but we're okay with that. My name is Janice, and I am the host of Stories That Inspire Us with Janice. Today, I am so excited. And it is no coincidence that she is appearing on today's podcast. Genuinely Maria. Her name is Maria Garcia. Maria, welcome to the Stories That Inspire Us podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here, and it's an honor to do this podcast.
And it's an honor for me to have you on. You know, Maria, we meet in very unique ways and very unique circumstances, and ours is no different. But I really want to start with your story and just give little people a background. Excuse me. You had a stroke at the age of 25, which left you at that time with only the ability to blink, to now starting cultivating your own business.
Yeah.
Fill us in, give us the backdrop of your story.
Well, it all started out one Sunday. I was on the phone, and all of a sudden I began to hear white noise in my head, and I couldn't string a sentence together. I was trying to say one thing, different words came out, and I was totally confused. And I had this sudden thunderclap headache. And what I thought was about a food poisoning turned out to be a massive stroke. Fast forward a few days, I was locked in. So basically I couldn't do anything but blink. Doctors didn't realize that I was there. So I was like imprisoned in my own body. And I was in desperation. It was the scariest thing. And then finally, a friend of mine figured out I was there, or I was conscious. And it progressed from there. I began moving my finger about half an inch. That was the first movement I had. And then it took a whole mess of years to get to a point where I would say I plateaued, maybe something like 8 years, something like that. And it was a very long, grueling recovery. But then when I got to where I got, I was happy because I had been basically dead, right? And so the doctors told my family I'd be in a vegetative state for the rest of my life. And I'm not. So I was really grateful for that.
I am blown away just at that small little segment. The fact that you mentioned that you were imprisoned in your own body, the doctors didn't know you were there. When your friend realized that, did she have an opportunity? How did she communicate with you?
Well, she came in and she began to show me pictures of a vacation we had been on together to Brazil, and she could see by the what I was doing with my eyes that I was conscious. I was looking, I was smiling with my eyes, or doing whatever, the gestures that were communicating to her via the eyes. And she just knew I was there. So she alerted everyone.
So she's showing you pictures of your trip. When she approached the doctors, and the doctors or whomever, the medical professionals came in, were they reassuring to her as far as your condition was, and did that reassure you?
I don't have recollection of that, but I would say that there wasn't much reassurance. And the reason I say that is because at some point, organ donation people spoke to my family, and it was after that.
What? I'm floored. I am just floored. So the organ donation aspect of it, when they spoke with your family, did your friend kind of say, hey, I was with Maria showing her these pictures of our vacation? Did they start to catch on as well that you were conscious, you were there, you just couldn't vocally explain what was going on to others?
I have no idea what the sequence of events was after that, and I don't recollect very well at all. What I can say though is that my family was told I'd be in a vegetative state forever. That was my fate.
And that must have been absolutely earth-shattering for them to hear that, and then to be approached about donating your organs. Are you in a position to now obviously you went from where you were to having the stroke, and you said 8 to 9 years of just the going back and forth. When
Yeah.
were you able within that time frame to come home at some point?
Well, I spent the initial 43 days in the hospital. Then I went to a rehab center for 2 months. After the 2 months, my insurance expired, so I went home. And that's when I graduated from using a wheelchair to a 4 quad walker. And that's because in my house, the wheelchair doesn't fit through the doors. So I had to get about differently, in a different way.
Now, Maria, a lot of people in your position, I think, and I want to say this as gently as possible, because I want to generally categorize this. Number one, I can't even fathom what that was for your family, for your friends to see you in that condition. And then being home where you cannot use a wheelchair and you're using a walker. What in your mind do you recall, like, how you felt in those struggling moments? Like, what is my life going to be like? What is my purpose?
Yeah, I felt desperate, frustrated. I didn't think I was going to get better. I lost hope. I just lost all hope. But my family, they held on to hope. And that's the reason I'm here. If it weren't for them, things would have turned out very differently.
And that is just beyond amazing that you had that support that you desperately needed at that very vulnerable and critical time in your life. So now you come forward even further. How did even starting a business come up for you?
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. When I was in the hospital, my brother must have done all the research on strokes, and he knew that early and constant movement was critical. So he would remove my limbs. When I was at the hospital, nobody would do therapy on me, nobody would touch me because I was basically good as dead. He would move my limbs up and down, arms, everything. When I went home, my parents, I couldn't pedal a bike because my feet slid off the bike. We had a recumbent bike. My mom tied my feet to the pedals. She tied my feet to the pedals.
That must have been such a very poignant and amazing thing for your mother to see you on the recumbent bike with your legs going.
Well, the point I'm really trying to hit home is that early and constant movement is so, so critical. And that's where everything began, right? Because that's the reason I can move today. That's the reason I can walk unaided.
And how many years without giving away your age, because I want to be respectful of that. How many years has it been about since you've had the stroke?
Something like 17.
So quite a few years.
Yeah.
Wow. So now you are in a position to really focus on going forward in life. Obviously that happened sooner than today, right? Because you started a business. Tell us a little bit more about your business and why that is so important to you.
Absolutely. So one day I was putzing around the internet and I saw an ad of somebody named Eric Edmonds. And I thought, that sounds like a pretty interesting nutritional program. And I was kind of a health buff only because of the stroke and everything. After the recovery, I kind of had to be one to get as recovered as possible. But I thought, oh, whatever. I'm just going to learn a few new things. I didn't think anything was possible, that anything could happen. But I enrolled. I took the course. And after the initial 3 months, I had things like better skin and nails, better digestion, better sleep. I became more outspoken, which is pretty amazing.
Excuse me for just a moment. I need to ask you this quick question. You became outspoken? What was that like for you?
That was different because I had always been really quiet and I don't like conflicts, and I don't like starting anything that could be considered a conflict. But now all of a sudden I was writing letters to companies and I was like, wow, that's really cool.
So I want to touch upon something that we've chatted about, because we've met via Zoom 2 or 3 times, I believe, whether it was initially the pre-podcast chat, but with other things. And we had this conversation about life happening not to us, but for us.
Mm-hmm.
How would you categorize that in a way for anyone who's not only been through a stroke, but maybe a very like, holy crap, kind of medical situation that they're going through now? How would you categorize that? Like, what does that mean to you?
Can you repeat the question because you froze a minute?
Oh, I'm sorry. What was it like to, categorize yourself in such a position where we were chatting about life happens sometimes not to us, but for us? How and what does that feel like for you?
Initially, it felt like crap because you don't see beyond what you're in the middle. When you're in the midst of it, you don't see anything. You don't see hope. You don't see purpose. There's nothing there. But then when you realize that, wow, this happened because it was meant to happen. And I was meant to take this course. And I was meant to now coach this course because it made such a difference in my life 15 years after a stroke. And now I have a new sense of purpose. Now I know why this happened.
A new sense of purpose.
Yeah.
Did you ever think that did you ever think that your sense of purpose, in other words, everything that you have been through from having your stroke at 25 to where you are today, would have such depth and meaning?
Did I ever think that? Not really. I mean, I do remember, and this is strange, I remember lying in a hospital bed at the first hospital when I couldn't move and I couldn't talk. I remember thinking I was ultra depressed, but I was manic depressive. So I'd go through really, really, really low periods and then just have this burst of a high period. And I was in one of those highs when I thought of myself as chosen, right?
And sometimes when we are going through those very extreme, life-altering circumstances, we don't see that. And I think that depression, and I'm not afraid nor ashamed to talk about depression, but I think it really alters the projection. And sometimes we don't see that at the time that we are going through that very traumatic experience. Would you agree with that?
You definitely don't see anything. You don't see anything beyond where you're stuck. Everything's in your mind, and you don't see anything. You just see, look at me, poor, pitiful me. I was stuck in victim for a long time.
I hear exactly what you're saying, and I feel that on so many different levels. And I was actually saying to someone this morning, and perhaps you can comment on this as well. And what I said was, for exactly a year, I have been living in this fear. And I realized that what happened was more than just the actual event itself. Like there was a higher purpose. And that time when I was going over the George Washington Bridge, when I came up with this epiphany to start stories that inspire us. And for you, it was maybe a chance thing that you saw the information about that new course and you ended up taking it, a nutrition course, which you love. You mentioned, better skin, hair, and nails. And by the way, I am, just to show everybody, I've got my nutrition program going on too. So I just wanted to show that. And it matches my outfit.
Nice.
Yeah, but I think sometimes it's the fear that brings us to the realization that we have more to offer than just the fear, that we have more to offer than just what categorizes us as to what happened to us. It's happened for us. And I just want to say, for anyone out there suffering, no matter what it be, it's really hard to see that. But I do believe that there is hope in every situation. I do believe that there are things that are just meant to happen, and they're kind of crappy. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, they're really crappy. However, that's when you get to polish the diamonds, so to say, or the best expression I ever heard was gift in ugly wrapping paper.
Can you repeat that again, please?
It's a gift wrapped in ugly wrapping paper.
It's a gift wrapped in ugly wrapping paper. That is so phenomenally eloquently said. And I just want to let you know, and I do not know this person, and I do not have their authority to say their name, but however, they did leave a message. And Maria, such an inspirational story. Thank you, Janice, for asking about life is happening not to you, but for you. great reminder. Thank you so much, and really appreciate the viewer who is with us live on Facebook for sending in such a nice note. Maria, now tell us a little bit more, excuse me, about how, like, what is a typical day like for you?
Get up in the morning. The best part is I have no boss, so I get to decide.
Same here.
I get to decide what I do. I either do some work, go to some meetings. Now that it's summer, I get to go to the beach sometimes.
And isn't that wonderful to be able to do that? And looking back on my story, just a year old today, I think back to that pivotal moment when, you know, being my own boss was very important to me, obviously. But when I found out about my son's accident at 2 a.m. the next morning, I didn't have to worry about reporting to a boss. And to have that freedom to be your own online person, to, you know, have a schedule that's flexible to you and your family is paramount.
Yes.
Now, what do you see on the horizon for yourself? Like, are there any, like, is there one thing that you want to do and you're like, that's on my list, I'm doing it?
I've been thinking about this recently, and I think I'd like to speak in venues, which is amazing because I've always had this thing about my voice, and that would make me ultra shy. And I was very like Marilyn Monroe. And now I got bass, and I think I'm ready to just share my message. And partly it's got bass, not partly, entirely. I didn't have bass in my voice before doing Wildfit. And I believe that's, I believe that's because my left vocal cord was semi-paralyzed, which it might still be a little bit, but even that improved 15 years after a stroke.
And to me, that's a medical marvel on how well your body recovered in such a way where you went from being a possible organ donor to where you are today. I'm just blown away. We did receive, by the way, another comment, and I can't see it right at the moment, but they did say how inspirational you are to them.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you're spreading the message of sharing your story. I definitely see you on a TEDx stage. Would that be something that you would want to do?
Possibly. I haven't set my sights that far, but yeah, why not?
I love that. Why not? What are some tips that you can offer anyone out there, specifically who's going through a situation, a medical situation, or even a family member who is possibly a caregiver going through that same situation?
I would say love and support is the number one, but number two is, and this goes for caregivers and people in bad medical situations, focus on your health, focus on your nutrition, because what took me 8 years to get could have taken me much less. When the body's given the proper nutrients and the proper hydration, it does miracles. The body is close to perfect, if not perfect, but it's got to be given the right building blocks.
So true. It needs to be giving the correct building blocks. And what would you say would be one building block that you would want for yourself? What would you want to come out, maybe further come out as a result of your story? Like, for instance, do you see maybe, you mentioned public speaking, do you see maybe your own book or something of that nature coming out?
I might do a second edition to my book. I initially wrote a book maybe 5 or 7 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so what this lady said, it's coming up now. She is just an inspirational person, and thank you so much for sharing that.
I
You
appreciate it.
are, yeah. I will make sure that I screenshot those and send them along to you for sure. So we chatted a lot and very in general basis. How have you been doing overall? Obviously, you're doing much, much better. How are you feeling today? You feeling good?
I feel fantastic. I feel great. And now I'm able to hike where I couldn't hike before. I actually go on long 4-hour hikes, and that would not have been possible even 1.5 years ago.
Wow. Now, I will share with you, sidebar, that my sister and I did walk this whole state of Connecticut. It took us a couple days, 2 or 3 days. I can't even imagine doing that now because my feet were so swollen by the end of day one. But, I got basically to the Connecticut line. So you're hiking, that is, I would love to do that with you, but, my feet would suffer greatly. So I won't be able to be on that journey with you. But, perhaps, if you go on that type of a journey again, I can obviously support you via, video conference or whatever. We'll have to, I'm cracking myself up. We'll have to chat about that further because gosh, my feet are just hurting thinking about it. Where do you like to hike?
New Jersey has beautiful places like Northern Jersey, even New York.
That is wonderful. I am so excited that you are on the podcast today, sharing your story in such a way that honors where you were, what you went through, and where you are now. What do you have a mission statement? Like something that you always go to, maybe on those days to remind you this journey that I've been on has been worth it.
I haven't given that much thought, so that question kind of puts me on the spot. I'm like, I can't think of anything. But like what I can say is that, yeah, I've been through hell. It was hell. I would not wish that ever on anybody. But I wouldn't take it back. I would not take it back.
Because I think too, you've been blessed in such a way. And I think we are both spiritual in nature. And I'm just feeling that we're not given anything that we can't handle. Would you say that is true?
It didn't feel like it for a while, but yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I hear you on that note. Where can our viewers and listeners get in contact with you?
So the best way would be on my website, genuinelymaria.com. And there's a link where you can book a call with me. So I want to hear.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Great.
So I want to hear more about the program, or just you'd like me to do a talk somewhere, whatever you need help with something, book an appointment, we'll have a call.
And they can do that directly on your website, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is fantastic. Genuinely, Maria, you have touched so many hearts today, not only today, but in your journey. And you have many more hearts, many more minds to challenge them to look beyond what they're maybe going through and how they can apply it to something that is so beautiful. And I think you have found something that genuinely reflects you, I hope you will definitely consider coming back to Stories That Inspire Us.
I would absolutely love that. Thank you, Janice.
Oh, you're so welcome. I want to thank our viewers who are on right now. And I have someone who sent me a message, and I did just want to let them know I did receive it, and I will respond shortly. But I really want this to be a message for anyone who is going through a very difficult time. And I had mentioned earlier, and I wanted this, it's only right that I share this with Maria in my presence. I had mentioned that a year ago today was something that happened in my life. A year ago today at 1 p.m., my son suffered a life-threatening injury, which changed the course of his life. And I'm happy to report he's doing okay. But it has been a long year. And as I said earlier as well, it was in that my journey home from Philly to Connecticut where the inspiration for stories came along. While I will not get into all the details, I just want you to know, genuinely, these are the stories that inspire us. My son, what he said to me inspired me to start this podcast. So I want the message to be today on the first anniversary of his accident. There is hope. There are blessings to be grateful for. We may not see them at the time, but now is the time to share stories that inspire us.
Absolutely.
And I want you, thank you, Maria. And I want you all to know Maria's story inspired me today. I am so honored and so blessed to be in her presence and genuinely know there is hope. My name is Janice. I am the host of Stories That Inspire Us with Janice. Today, I was inspired by genuinely Maria. Thank you all so much. And thank you so much for being here today. And we hope you come back to hear other great stories. If you have a story to share, I want to hear from you. Let me help you. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.